to the Go-Tee Sports Page, coming to you live from the Bluetick Tavern in Maryville at 92.5 FM and 1180 AM. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Bringing you the best in Blount County sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards, former Maryville Scott, Donnie Moore, and from the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons.
And hello, everybody, and greetings from Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is not Mike Edwards. I am Marcus Fitzsimmons, filling in for the Greenfield Gunner, and I am joined this morning by Scott Dunkel and Heath Dunkel, and this is the Go-Tee Sports Page. Let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by the Blount Partnership. First up, the University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook. Lead off with Team Dunkel from Two Hype Sports joining us this morning as we look at UT's trip to Arkansas and Maryville College's visit to LaGrange. We'll run down the high school scores and news from around the area, and then Mark It Down, sponsored by Mandy B Street Realty, will feature the Eagleton volleyball team. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week will be announced as the governors from William Blount come to visit. The Boyd Sports Spotlight will shine on Alcoa football. And finally, the Shelter Insurance Bold Prediction segment closes the show as the panel looks into the crystal ball about this weekend's SEC matchups. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group UT Sports Report and Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook featuring Team Dunkel. Guys, the Vols are done with the bye week. Going to Fayetteville at 7:30 tonight for their second SEC road game with a big helping of Arkansas Razorback and a side of ABC. So, Heath, I'm going to just generally give you that setup, but say, is this a trap game for Tennessee? Everybody's talking about 0-3 in Fayetteville, breaking a streak. Is Tennessee, should they be worried or should they just be poo-pooing the hype about this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, before we start, first off, thanks for allowing us to be on the show today. Super excited for the opportunity. Got to join the crew last week, had a lot of fun. Miss Mike, Miss Donnie, I certainly will welcome them back soon. But I know we are both excited to be on the headset today. But, Mark, it's really funny you said that. My first question as I was kind of putting together my segment on UT was, is this a trap game? Because this is a game you go into Arkansas 3-2, a team that really a couple plays away from really being undefeated after a close game with Oklahoma State, not a pretty close game with Texas A&M. Could have been undefeated coming into this one. So if you're the Vols, you can't take this game lightly. It's an away game as well, and you can't be looking ahead to next week when you play the Florida Gators. So I think it's a great question. I don't think it will be. I think the Vols will be focused in. But Scott, I certainly think it's something you have to look out for.
Yeah, exactly, Heath. And like you said, you had Oklahoma last week. You have Florida coming up. Florida's always a big game for Tennessee. I see reports possible where they talk about Tennessee first time going 5-0 in quite a while. I think the third time in the century, basically. But what you look at is the reason for that is there was no Georgia and no Florida like we usually play early in the season. They're a little further down the schedule. Could it be a trap game? Possibly, but I don't think Coach Heupel is going to let it or allow it to happen like that.
Well, and a couple things, too, I think that really bode well for the Vols. Number one, we should be healthy. Had some time off. Lance Hurd is projected to be back at tackle. Really saw the effects of not having him in the Oklahoma game. There was much more pressure on Nico. You saw Heupel trying to kind of counter that by slowing the game down, running the football more, trying some different things to get it out of Nico's hands quickly. So having that health and allowing Nico some time to deliver the football, I think is going to be really helpful. Now, Arkansas does have a dual-threat quarterback Tennessee's going to have to look out for. We saw Oklahoma when they went from Jackson Arnold to Hawkins. Hawkins gave Tennessee a little bit of trouble in that second half with his versatility. But it'll be something to look out for. But also, too, just historically between Tennessee and Arkansas, it's kind of a weird game. It's always an interesting one between these two. I saw a stat the other day, too, that the last time Arkansas beat a top-5 opponent, it was LSU. The last time they beat a top-5 opponent at home was in 1999. against the Tennessee Vols. So Tennessee looking to not fall back into that upset again for Arkansas, but I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited about it. I honestly think Tennessee will be able in the second half to kind of pull away in this one. As long as the field conditions are a little bit better than what we saw in Oklahoma, I think the Vols will be off to the races.
I agree with that. You look, though, you're talking about the dual threat quarterback. Tennessee's got the same thing. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's defense, though, much improved from what we've seen the last few years. And I think they pride themselves on stopping the run. Yeah, they did struggle with the Oklahoma quarterback a little bit. However, that almost is like getting you ready for the Arkansas quarterback. So they got a little bit of experience already to see what they got. But, again, another dual threat in the sense of switching from one to the other, as we talked about last night at the Alcoa West game, the Lightning and Lightning. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's got the same thing with Sampson and with Bishop. And I had not seen, I've seen footage of Bishop during the high school when he played at Carnes. Watching him run at UT, the kid's got speed. I mean, I'm really impressed with him. Averaging over 7 yards a carry. And you gave him the ball, he's not coming down easy.
Yeah, and it's one of the great things, too, that Tennessee's got is they've got a depth in the backfield with Bishop, with Sampson, but you also got Cam Selden as well, another good running back that can step in when needed. They've been able to rotate those guys. I think Peyton Lewis is a guy they're trying to redshirt this season and be able to keep him kind of put away until they need him. But you've got some depth in the running back room. You've got a ton of depth in the receiver room as well. So I'm really excited about what this Vols team brings to the table. I don't think they overlook this game, Marcus. I think this is a game they win. But then they're going to really have a gauntlet once they get past Arkansas.
Well, see, I'm from that school that, when Arkansas first came in, Tennessee dominated them the first 4, 5, 6 games. Then you had that national championship season game with the fumble from Providence. Mm-hmm. Yes. Since that game, Tennessee-Arkansas has just been an odd matchup every time. Something weird has always happened, whether it's been weather or travel or a Tennessee team that was highly ranked just struggling against Arkansas, and vice versa. Arkansas has had good teams that struggled against some very bad Tennessee teams. This game there's just something about it where it's become one of those, it's kind of like Memphis used to be. It's like you just don't know what you're going to get. Like you can see them winning by 60, and you could see them trailing by 14 in the fourth quarter, just depending on how this game goes. Mm-hmm. And that's what, because if you remember, the last time we played was during the COVID season. Tennessee was number 13 in that game when they came in and got blown away in the second half, 24-13. Like, Vols didn't score after half, and Arkansas ran up 24 straight. So, I mean, I just think this series is a weird matchup, and the timing with it being this early is weird for Tennessee.
And you've got a really well-coached team. Sam Pittman's done an excellent job since he's taken over the Razorbacks. Lost his quarterback to the transfer portal and kind of had to regroup going into this season. So I think Arkansas has done well. And like I said, only a few plays away from potentially this being an even bigger, maybe undefeated matchup between these two teams. Oklahoma State's got a pretty good team. Texas A&M, off and on. I think the big thing with A&M, and we'll probably get into this later on, when we kind of look at the SEC projections as well, but you've got a team that under new head coach, Mike Elko coming from Duke, he's really trying to revamp that program after Jimbo really honestly kind of really failed to meet expectations after they were so high with him coming in and bringing in a top 5 recruiting class, and people thought he was really just going to change Texas A&M, and that just didn't happen. And I think Elko's now is trying to kind of get them back to where they need to be, and he's a great coach. I'm excited to watch that matchup with them today as well in their ball game. But, it's a tough game. I think UT's certainly got to be careful. They can't overlook it, but I think it's going to be a fun one to watch tonight. And how about this two guys? I mean, 4-0 coming to their 5th game of the season, and, man, this is the most – feels like primetime games for UT in a season to start that I've seen in forever.
We were talking about it last night because we've yet to have a game where we didn't have to work late on Saturday at this point with UT. Mm-hmm. Like, every single time it's like you've got the 7:30 time slot.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be that way again next week for Florida. And can we imagine them doing anything different for Alabama if both teams come in undefeated?
Yeah.
I mean, or even if Tennessee picks up a loss over the next 2 weeks, still going to be in the top 10, still going to be a top 10 matchup. You just got to think they're going to stick them right back on ABC or ESPN in that late time slot.
Well, and just in case anyone in power of those decisions is listening to this today, I would not mind if the Alabama game is late, as we've got a Maryville College game that day around, I believe, 1 p.m. So want to be able to call for the Scots and then be able to make my way down to Neyland Stadium and watch that one as well.
And is that the homecoming game? Is that when Methodist is here? Or is I'm a week ahead?
I think we're a week ahead. Yeah, I think it's the following week, I believe, is homecoming. So
I just know it's coming up.
It is coming up.
I saw Steve Wildsmith send out emails this morning with the homecoming list of activities, and was like,
well, and that week really is going to be a fun week for Blount County in general. When you think about kind of what's going on at the college and what's going on in high school football, that week alone, on Thursday night, the Maryville College Wall of Fame. It's typically in the spring. It got moved to the fall starting this year. That game will be on that Thursday. On Friday, Maryville Alcoa, and then on Saturday, Maryville College homecoming. So it's going to be a busy few days for myself and for a lot of people in this area, but a lot of fun as well.
I love it when those things kind of mesh up and we get a bunch of things in a row. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm a sadist, but from the perspective of what it impacts our life, is it's easier to just work completely all the time for 3 days than to be thinking, oh man, we got through this week and now next week we got another killer day coming up. Mm-hmm. It's that dread factor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would be a good high school football player these days with the dread factor and the impact of the focus that they have to attention to detail and that focus on game week. That I don't think that was quite as dominant a thing 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, the level of play in Blount County just each and every year has only gotten stronger. So many great teams in this area. I'm excited, too, the fact that later on in the show today we get to bring a couple of them on as well.
Yeah, and you guys do Maryville College. So, right. I mean, if people are familiar with 2Hype, I mean, you all do Alcoa football. You do Maryville College football. And if you're worried, no, we haven't kicked Mike and Donnie off. Mike is in recovering from a little bit of medical procedures, and Donnie is taking his usual fall break trip. And you guys were jumped in and helped out today, and I really appreciate that. But you got an inside track on Maryville College. You're the voice over there. The Scots lost. I mean, we basically lost a game last week. It doesn't sound like they're going to make up the Brevard game at this point, does it?
I think it's really going to depend near the end of the season how things shake up. I mean, you've got a Brevard team early on, 1-0 in conference. Will they be able to continue to stay undefeated in conference? If so, that could be something to look out for later in the year, as Maryville College is projected, I think right now, to finish second in the conference this year. So I would be curious later down the line if it needs to be made up, how they make that work. They said last I heard, the USA South hasn't made a decision on that, but it may not need to be. It just depends on how things shake up the rest of the way through.
And they're on the road today at LaGrange, and the reason I say that is, I mean, the conference changed sort of the format. So that bye week is now in conference play, where it used to be the break between non-conference and conference play. It was the bye week for everybody. So now you've got a bye week later on where you possibly could move some things around if you started working on it now. But at the same time, if you're the USA South, Maryville College is the guys that are saying see ya. So are you going to give them a lot of love trying to make things work out for them, or are you going to try to make things work out for Brevard, who's staying put? So,
well, the one thing I will say too, though, is Maryville College was projected to leave anyways, because with the formation of the CCS, most of the sports were able to go ahead and transition into the CCS conference when they established that a few years ago. It was the football team and I think maybe the women's golf team that hadn't quite made the move yet. So they were going to be moving next season, and then with the new conference coming in, the SAA coming in to ask them to join them, Now they're just switching to another one. So they've known for a few years Maryville College was leaving. Hopefully any bad blood that was there has kind of simmered down over the last few seasons.
Simmer down.
Just everybody relax.
Well, and I think, though, a lot of that on the CCS, though, is because the USA South was so large, they had to split. They just could not keep it that large. And so I don't think there's really a lot of bad blood in the CCS and USA.
Yeah, I think, too, at one point, the USA South was the largest conference out of any division, Division 1, 2, or 3, with how big they were, and that's why they had to split up.
I think what made that conference unique was the way when it started adding some of the schools, it took some of the women's only schools that other conferences weren't interested in, and they ended up with like women's basketball and the volleyball schedule just being unworkable, because even with divisions, you still had like 12 and 13 teams in some of those divisions. In women's sports. But on the guys' side, when trying to balance it out, those divisions didn't all necessarily work because they were down to like 5 or 6 teams in some of those divisions. So. I understand. I remember when Maryville joined the USA South, but was still playing everything else in the Great South, and football was the only one. And Coach Iruli was, a big proponent of getting the college to come bring everything into the USA South, and they did that and it worked. But then when the expansion bug hit, it has not worked nearly as well in Division III with this. Expansion and contraction of conferences because they don't have the travel money there that you have in Division I. So when you're making these trips, you're talking about 12-hour bus trips, like that trip down to Mississippi that Maryville has to make to Belhaven.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time on a bus for anybody.
Well, you think about it, a game I called this week, Maryville College and Berea in volleyball. It's a great example. Berea, up until this year, was in our conference. Berea has moved this season to the Heartland Conference. That is more Indiana, Kentucky teams. So for Berea, it's more of a perfect fit for them to be able to make that transition to that conference and play teams in that area. So it was I was looking at the schedule as I was calling it because it was like conference, Berea, conference. And it was really because they were in the conference at one time, and the schedule was
right,
kind of already
Maryville
put
had
together.
a good rivalry with Berea as
and
well.
They
but
were
for
a
those
good
that don't
match.
know, Berea being in Kentucky, it makes more sense for the Indiana switchover.
Yeah, and a great volleyball game between the two as well. One of the things I was telling some of the guys at the game when we were watching it, I thought was just the coolest stat, and sometimes these weird stats just pop out at you and really make a difference. And I'll tell you as well, Marcus, I was texting Dad during the game about how crazy the stat was. But they going into Tuesday night's match against Berea in women's volleyball, I believe Maryville College led the series. I think it was 13-3. But in those 16 games, which 13 of them were a sweep, and 3 of them were a 3-1 win to one of the teams. And so it's only been 3 times in the series that the teams have split, and then one team has kind of dominated the rest of the way through the match. And in that game, Berea won the first set. And I thought, okay, it's going to go one or two ways. Let's see how it finishes. Maryville came back and won 3-1. And so kind of really just kept this weird but cool stat and trend going, but was happy for Maryville to be able to pick up the win. It's got a really good young coach in Brianna Liskowski. And so, yeah, it's a great time to be at Maryville College. A lot of fun things happening on campus. I'm excited about the move to the new conference soon. A lot of great teams that I could probably go on and on about forever. But, yeah, football right now in full force and having a good start to the season.
And, I mean, it kind of touches on us on our area, and when we've had Coach I in here talking about from a Carson Newman perspective, Emory and Henry has always been one of those schools Maryville generally played at least every couple of years, if not every year for a while, because it was a natural rivalry. Division III, it was different conferences, made a great September game for the college. Well, now Emory Henry's moved up to Division II, and they're in a league with Carson Newman, and making that transition. With a totally different set of rules in Division II, where you get into where you can have athletic scholarships and that sort of thing. And it's like, if you're Emory and Henry and you just see what had just happened with Maryville going to the SAA, and basically all the schools that Emory and Henry used to play now being in one conference together in the state of Tennessee, you got to wonder if they're going, man, should we have been a little more patient about this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's certainly, like you said, with Division III and the finances that go into it and how difficult that can be. I mean, it's one of the things, too, with a lot of great success can sometimes also be hard because the more you're winning and winning those championships, the more you're typically trying to get those awards out and make those championship rings. And then you got to find ways to make that work as well, not only for the travel, but then putting those championship rings together and being able to finance those and award the players for all of their hard work. And so it can certainly be difficult. And I would just encourage more and more people to come out and check out what the Scots are doing. And a lot of their games are free. You can still, you can come and watch the games, but, concession and everything else you can to give back to the colleges and what they're doing and allow them to continue to have the success that they are.
Now, do they do fireworks at football?
They do not.
No, okay. Because at one point they had somebody who set off fireworks behind the pine trees back there.
Oh, really?
Next to the road in the field. And I don't think the school was real thrilled about it at the time. But I just wondered if they had made that official, if John Painters had made that part of the official ceremony at football games to have fireworks yet.
Need to have some kind of like bagpipe that shoots out fireworks when they score.
That could be interesting.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be a great intro.
There you go.
Maybe with sparkles coming out of the top of it.
Yeah, but, speaking of bagpipes, Tennessee, the tradition of running out through the tee.
Mm-hmm.
I like Maryville's tradition of the bagpipe player leading the way as the teams come out, because you hear that bagpipe and it just gets your attention. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to give you an easy setup question because I've watched them a couple times on video and did the one home game that's been played. But this defense Maryville has is something else. Like I was looking at the numbers, and they've given up something ridiculous low number of first downs over the first 3 games. It was still something you could almost count on your hands.
Yeah, this defense is really good. We had a feeling coming into the season that would be the case, and it certainly proved to be true. The first quarter and the first game of the season, Sewanee put up a touchdown. They didn't get anything else other than a safety the rest of the game. Maryville College has been pretty dominant. I think leading into the final drive in their loss to Center, they'd only given up around 55 total yards for the game. Center just had a really good final drive that allowed them to win that game. But, yeah, I mean, taking a look, and I pulled this up this week as well, just kind of going back and reviewing it again. USA South statistical categories and kind of where the teams stand. Maryville College number 1 in defense, averaging allowing 10.7 points a game. Number 2 is Greensboro, allowing 20. Then you look at totals. Maryville College's defense is number 1 in offense and in defense. In defense, they only allow 158 yards per game. The number 2 team, Greensboro, 257. Maryville is allowing only 49.7 yards on the ground, 108 through the air as well. And so, and you look, you deep dive into some other stat categories like sacks, interceptions, fumbles forced. They're really not at the top necessarily. They're not number 1 in any of those categories. They're kind of flirting, I think, in the top 5 of a few of them. But it's just been the total team defense and all the things that they've been able to do. I believe Scott Brummett, who was the defensive coordinator, promoted to assistant head coach this season. He's done a great job with that group. Tyler Bost, Devon White, linebackers that have really been key players for us the last few seasons, now seniors this year, and really making their presence felt on that side of the football. And it's been helpful because our offense is I think we had high expectations of the offense coming into this year with junior quarterback Bryson Rollins. Had some good weapons around him. Steph Carter Jr. being one of those, Brock Skelton being another. A different running back room this year. They've got some different guys now running the football. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some of the stats last year, and I was like, I don't think any of these guys are on the roster this year. So it's a totally different group. Griffin Sweeney was one that was fun to watch in week 1. I think he had 2 touchdowns. But the offense felt like it took them a little bit to get adjusted, and I think part of the reason I found out post-game was I think they lost their offensive coordinator like a week or 2 before the first start of the season, so it kind of threw them off a little bit. They're starting to find their way now. A huge win against Southern Virginia in their last victory. I think that final was 54-6.
It was.
Yeah, so, defense has been crucial. You think about the Tennessee teams of the past that maybe we weren't sure what they would bring on offense, and the defense was kind of the one thing where, like, if the defense can just hold and the offense can figure some things out. And I think that's where we're starting to see Maryville College is finding a little bit more balance. Their offense is starting to be able to make some things work and kind of get to what we thought they would be. And that's helpful because when you guys both know this, but when you have a really good defense and not a good offense, that defense doesn't look as good because they get worn out because they're on the field the whole time. But I think what's great about this team is that's not necessarily the case. There's starting to be a more balance between the two.
Well, and something to look at, too, and I didn't notice this until I started looking a little bit more carefully through some of the stats with Maryville College. And to me, this is very impressive. Red zone scoring. Maryville College, 13 of 14. Touchdowns, 11 of those 14. So that only means 2 field goals. So that means Maryville's being productive once they get inside that 20.
Yeah, and that's super helpful.
And I mean, I may be wrong because you've had a little more experience watching Coach and what he prefers to do, but it's not exactly like a Tennessee mix, but like they will tend to run on first down, but that second down, you don't know whether they're going to go back to the run, dink it short, or just bomb it. I mean, they've got the capability to do all 3 of those options on any given 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7 type situation.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really impressive against Southern Virginia, whereas Sewanee, though, like you said, there were some misses in there where the pass wasn't quite on and the spot wasn't right and there was some hesitation. But the running backs were hitting the holes better, and the receivers, especially on those short 10-yard outs, were just like they were where the quarterback was expecting them to be. Yeah. And it wasn't just for the starting quarterback; it was also there for the second-team quarterback who played the fourth quarter of that game, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and we talked about, and this was during the Sewanee game, Heath and I both noticed it, and we could almost predict it, especially in the first half. Every first down attempt by Maryville College was a run. We knew where it was going, who was running the ball, what they were doing with the ball, and it got too predictable. But also, as Heath mentioned, the offensive coordinator being kind of new in that position – had to kind of get a feel for what his team was going to do and how they could do it. They started mixing it up in the second half. Once they did that, Maryville College took off and started getting a better run. Again, 29-9 was the final score against Sewanee on that. Maryville's done a great job so far this year. And give a little bit also for on the defense. Jacob Revan, leads the team, 16 tackles, 3 of those for losses.
Yeah, they're having a good year so far, and the predictability I think was the one thing we talked about, that the second half started to figure that out and switch things up because it was getting to the point where Sewanee knew first down they're running the football, so they just started stacking the box and really stopping Maryville. And once Maryville got away from that and became a little bit more unpredictable, sometimes passing, sometimes empty backfield quarterback draw, then it opened up the rest of the offense. And so I think they're only getting better and starting to hum on all cylinders. The biggest thing, and I think Coach Fox would probably agree about this, their Achilles heel right now, if there's one to pick on, penalties have continued to really hurt them. The Sewanee game, we talked about it a lot. 10 penalties, 106 yards. There was probably 1 or 2 at least that we probably questioned. I can go back in my mind and think of the pass interference called near the end zone you and I talked about. But the center game is where it really hurt them. Center game, they lose on a walk-off field goal. Maryville had 13 penalties, 139 yards. Against Southern Virginia, they cleaned it up some, 6 for 60. But you look at the season so far, through 3 games, 29 penalties, 305 yards.
Yeah, it's way too many.
It's high. And I think against center, I don't think it necessarily – I don't recall one on center scoring drive at the end. But there were some – the 2 series before that that helped put Maryville into the position that it ended up in where center could drive for the win.
Yeah.
And it was silly things. It was stuff where you made a good play and just be happy you made the good play. And, there was some discretion in them. Officials have that. But, at that point it was fairly clear what they were and were not going to accept. And the fourth quarter's not the time to get silly penalties for doing just showboating and celebrating.
Yeah, not at all. Well, and the thing is, too, is if you're a winning program and you're wanting to have a winning culture, then those plays are just routine. there's no need to celebrate them. You got to act like you've been there before, and you got to be able to keep moving forward. And I know that's what Coach Fox wants to see out of this team, is a winning culture that's used to winning. And a big play is a big play, but it's a play that these guys know they can make any day of the week. So I know he's trying to build that. I think he's done a great job. Every year Coach Fox has been there coming into this season, they've improved in the win column every single year. Last year finishing 8-2, still have an opportunity this year to get more wins than they did last year. We just have to see how the rest of the season unfolds. But they play today against a really a LaGrange team that is also undefeated in the conference. So we'll see which team ends up with their first loss. And yeah, it was against, I believe, Methodist was the game that they won?
Yeah, exactly. It was against Methodist, but they're 1-2 coming in. LaGrange is right now, lost two games. Another thing I kind of noticed this, Maryville is 12-3 against LaGrange. They've won 10 straight, but dating back to 2013. Mm-hmm. So Maryville's had LaGrange's number. Just a little note on this too, playing at LaGrange today at Callaway Stadium. Today is Pink Out Day, so Cancer Awareness Day for LaGrange down there. But last meeting between the two schools at Maryville won 26-6 last October 23rd. Maryville's had, like I said, had LaGrange's number. Mm-hmm. They just need to keep it.
Yeah. Do you want my favorite LaGrange story?
What's that?
Okay. So this was when Coach Rader was in his first season when they were playing down at LaGrange. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you remember, I mean, everybody has drones now. But at that point, that was experimental. People weren't really doing it, and drones were much larger. So LaGrange had a crew that was trying to film from a drone overhead footage to put in their promo video for the college. Mm-hmm. So pregame they're warming up, and this drone is kind of buzzing around getting in position. They flew it into a guide wire for one of the support poles, and it came down in the stands. Luckily, there was nobody sitting in that section. It came down right in that front area where you go up the steps into in the seating area. And the funny thing about it now is nobody knew what it was. They were all looking at it like it was a UFO that had fallen out of the sky, and like green men were going to crawl out of it, because they didn't know what it was. So I thought it was ironic, but LaGrange College is one of the first places to put drones into use for football.
Wow. Well,
see him a lot now.
Yeah. And that was when Hal Mum was down there as the coach for, I think he was there 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, you really do see it more and more. I mean, I feel like even in Alcoa, when we're calling games, we see teams come in with drones. Austin East came in, and they asked us, they were like, hey, can we fly our drone? Where can we fly it? And we were just like, And luckily, Tim stepped in, he does some stuff with drone work where Alcoa, and so he was telling them, like, just making sure they had clearance and what guidelines they had to follow and all of those things if they wanted to fly it in the area.
Yeah, don't get it in the flight path of the airport, things like that.
Definitely not. Yeah, come down close to McGee Tyson, be in big trouble.
All right. We got a couple minutes because I think our guests are caught in some of the traffic we've got going on with the farmers market down the street. Mm-hmm. So if you had to pick one today, if we were going to put you on the spot, how are you like? Let's say, are you Cherokee Group confident that UT's going to win today?
Yeah, I feel like UT's got a great chance. If I was putting it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving 10. I'm probably around a 7 or 8 in my confidence right now of Tennessee football versus Arkansas. I think just off the cuff prediction, I would say I could see Tennessee winning that ball game, probably like 38-13, and coming away with a victory.
I'm an 8. I'm going Tennessee.
Going 8. Okay. I'm the downside because I'm at a 4 because I'm superstitious and I don't ever root for Tennessee. But with that, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, we'll mark it down with Eagleton volleyball. You're listening to the Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925. Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent. Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good.
And we're back. How was that for a smooth transition out of commercials? I'm not as good at that as Donnie is, so I apologize for some of those delays that are coming in. But we're back here with the sports page out of the timeout. Before we visit with our first guest this morning, let's take a look at what happened last night and, in one case, Thursday night. And Heath, I want you to, as we go through this, I want you to remember the number 62.
Okay.
Keep that number in your mind here. And we're going to start off with your game last night. Knox West came over to Alcoa, meeting of defending state champions, what has been the last 4 seasons a fantastic matchup. Mm-hmm. And Alcoa comes away with the 28-10 win and did not give up an offensive touchdown. And as best I can tell, it's been at least 5 years since West has not had a touchdown in a game on offense.
Yeah, it was a huge win for Alcoa, 28-10, the final score. The only touchdown given up was a first quarter pick six that just was a great read by the senior linebacker, Jack Keith. He jumped that route as soon as Eli Graff turned to deliver it, took it to the house. And, Scott and I were talking about it last night, but Jack Keith leading the team in interceptions, leading the team also in defensive touchdowns for West. I think he came into that game with 4 defensive touchdowns, which is just a crazy.
I think he had 5.
He had
yeah.
okay,
if
5.
you remember from what he did in the Bearden game, he was fantastic.
Just an insane stat for someone at this point in the season. So hats off to them. But Alcoa did a really good job making the necessary adjustments in the second half, was really able to pull away. A huge win for Alcoa and a little bit of a revenge game as well, as the last time the West Rebels were at Alcoa High School, they beat us. And so we got some revenge on them.
Well, sorry,
and then
Marcus,
but there was somebody else who brought that up last night.
Yeah.
And that was Eli Graff.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't call out West as something he focuses on, but he said, this is a game where I will always be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, something that Heath and I talked about last night, too, the visitors had been winning that last few series, so Alcoa broke that string as well last night.
Yeah. Huge win.
Okay, so you remember the number I told you?
62.
Yeah, Eagleton 62, North Green 28. Kind of an odd game for the folks who don't know. Eagleton was supposed to play Hampton. North Green was supposed to play Cloudland. Both of those schools are in Carter County and right in the heart of the hurricane damage zone. Mm-hmm. Neither could play. North Green is also one of the schools that they don't have water because of the water plant in Greenville being down. Didn't think they were going to be able to play. They already lost a game last week. Eagleton called them and said, hey, if you'll come down here and play, your kids can get out of town, forget about this, play some football. We'll give you the gate from the game like it's your own home game, so you're not even having to give that up.
Yeah, classic.
And then when they got down here last night, Eagleton had a trailer of supplies for them to take back with them. So I thought that was just a fantastic the way that worked out and the way Eagleton kind of stepped up and tried to help the situation and give those guys didn't give them a break on the scoreboard, but they definitely took that all into account. And it was one of those games where, yes, everybody was playing hard, but everybody was helping everybody off the field after a play.
Well, and just a great reminder too that it's so much bigger in sports. Like, sports is just such a great avenue for a lot of great things and helping others. But you see it as a prime example last night. We'll talk a little bit more about it later too with the Alcoa game. But wearing blue last night in support of Garrison Stevens fighting ALS. This community, this Blount County area, even since I played, has always been a community that when things have happened, they've stepped up to the plate to try to help, whether it was impacting us or not. I think about Maryville-Alcoa's matchup, what was the hurricane in Texas, where they did the shirts that one year and tried to raise money to help donate to the school down there as well. So this community always steps up to the plate when it needs to, and that's just another great example of what the Royals did.
Yeah. Okay, so Greenback was not on the right side of a 46-12 score last night against Rockwood. Similar misfortune for Heritage. Halls came in. It was a close one-score game at halftime, and Halls got 21 points in about 6 minutes to start the third quarter. Ended up winning that one 41-17. And you remember that number again?
62.
Yes. Thursday night, Maryville went over to Bearden, came away with a 62-28 victory. Very, very odd game. It was one of those that last forever because a lot of bad breaks went against Bearden in the beginning, self-inflicted injuries. Mm-hmm. They were down by 28. The mercy rule starts at 30, and Bearden played their hearts out to keep that mercy rule from coming down, but they couldn't get any closer. It was a good win, and the way it shapes up, that's going to probably decide who's going to be 1 and 2 and who's going to be 3 and 4 is the dividing line that's going to fall in that game.
Well, in calling for Alcoa, one of the things we look at throughout each season before we meet the Rebels is how are they doing? What are they looking like? How do we stack up against the Maryville Rebels? And, Maryville-Bearden game, that was a game that against Alcoa, we wanted a walk-off with Kyron Tyson. And so I was curious how close that game was going to be. I told you guys last week when we were talking about it, that was going to be a good barometer of where the Rebels stood. How good was Maryville this season? And, man, they showed out and just crushed Bearden. Now, I will say in another comparable game that we'll hold on to for us being Tornado guys as well is that Maryville beat West 35-14 this season. Alcoa beat West 28-10, but Maryville allowed 2 touchdowns. Alcoa didn't allow any other than the pick 6. So we're going to hold on to that as we move into that.
I see where you're going with that. I will say it's the first time I've seen in 3 snaps 2 of them go over the quarterback's head and both go to the other team on the turnover.
Yeah.
Which put Bearden in the hole early. I think if we were to ask Coach Hunt, I don't know if he'd go on the air and say it, but if you all had hit the quarterback a little harder in your game, he wouldn't have been able to come back and start this week against Maryville because it was his first game back since being knocked out by Alcoa. I think they would have preferred him be out another week because he kept them in that game with some beautiful throws, much better than what we saw when he was playing against Alcoa.
Well, and he made a couple really nice ones against Alcoa, and then we were able to knock him out of the game late in the 4th, and they moved to Drew Parrott after that. It's a quarterback who was the #1 quarterback in his class in the state of Mississippi before he transferred this summer to Bearden. So Bearden's got a really good one, and the next few years they're just only going to get better.
Yeah, and I don't know if Maryville would have wanted to face Parrott either. Parrott's a really good quarterback as well.
Mm-hmm. He is, but he's also not a bad receiver. If you saw what he did to him on the receiving
well, you
end.
take away something to gain something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and the last one we'll hit on, and again, that magic number, Scott, you remember what that magic number is?
62.
Yeah. William Blount, 62, Union County 15 last night. This was on the flip side of what was William Blount's homecoming game last season. So went up to Maynardville, got the win, got some people to play, they got everybody to play by the end of this one. But it got the experience, and we're going to talk with Coach Reeves about that later on in the show. But now they've been patiently waiting, sitting here looking at me, and I've been doing my best to give them that evil eye to see if I can make anybody nervous. Eagleton Volleyball is here for Market Downs, brought to you by Mandy B Street Realty. And they're coming off district volleyball tournament, runner-up finish on Thursday night. And this second-year varsity program is headed to its first-ever region appearance. And Coach James Stewart has joined us this morning, and he's brought a couple of the Lady Rolls with him. Coach, how big a win was this for the team to come to get to the finals of the district tournament?
It was real big for us. I say it all the time. For us to be a second-year varsity program and to be in the position that we are right now is amazing. I don't think nobody expected it to be this early. Maybe another 3-4 years. But these girls have done an amazing job with me since day one. Each summer it's crazy, it's brutal. There's no let-ups, and then it's preparing them for this moment right here. So I'm very excited about what we're doing right now and where things are going. And the future's bright for us right now.
You've got two Lady Rolls with you. Introduce who you brought and sort of where they play and how they fit into this team for you.
Yes, sir. So right here is Victoria Rhines. She is my middle and outside hitter. And then also Carly Smith, my outside hitter. Both are seniors. Carly's been with us. Carly's been with the program before I got here. So she was day one of Eagleton volleyball when it started the high school season, and then I think Victoria came the following year. So.
All right. So can I put them on the spot?
Go right
Did
ahead.
they perform well under pressure? Are they up for this?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, we'll pick on Carly. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to be here from the beginning, and we've asked the football team this, and those guys, we pick on them all the time. But first this, first that, everything with them. But we don't take as much note of the other sports. But with you guys, there were a lot of firsts, not only this season, but what's it been like growing a program from the ground up and being a part of that?
So this is my 6th volleyball season, and seeing, whenever Coach Stewart came in, he told me, we're going to have all these workouts. They're going to be so hard, and I was excited for it. I was excited to see the growth and excited to see what the team could do. And there were people along the way who were worried about how hard it was going to be, and they decided not to stay with the team. But for those of us who stayed, it was great.
And how good did it I know when you play a championship game, you want to win that championship, but knowing that you were still playing, you were still alive, and you can still every goal you had still in front of you. How exciting was that to come out the district tournament with that?
It was so exciting. Just playing in general for me is exciting. If we hadn't have won, it would have been devastating, but I still would have had a blast. But winning and knowing that we're about to go and play against bigger teams and our season's not over yet, I'm excited.
Victoria, was there a celebration when you all got to the semifinals, or was it just we're back in business? We got to get ready for the championship.
There was a little bit of a celebration, but we kind of just we're locking in. We're going to regions, so yeah.
And Coach, we'll put you on the spot about regions. If people want to come see this team play, where are regions, and when does it kind of take place?
If I'm correct, region will now take place at Washburn.
Okay.
And we play on the 14th. Not sure who we play yet, but I know we play on October 14th.
So you got a little bit of time to prepare.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but a little bit of time to prepare and get ready. They've never been here before. What do you do for this week of practice? Do you work them hard? Do you give them days off? There's fall break involved. I mean, how do you manage expectations, fall break, and all of that right now?
We're actually going through that right now. Before we got here, I sent out a group message asking who could be at practice on certain days, because I know obviously it's fall break. There's going to be parents and families going out of town, this, that, and the third. So I'm just trying to work around everybody's schedule, and we'll figure it out. But we're definitely going to have a couple practices before Monday gets here and prepare. Their motto right now is now or never, and I'm rolling with it. I've told them from the beginning that I want it to be a player-led team, and they're starting to understand what that means. I don't have to say as much anymore. Yeah, I have 2 seniors here, but I always say again, I have a sophomore class that is absolutely amazing, and they lead this team loudly and proudly. So I'm proud of everything they're doing right now. We're definitely going to be ready to go on Monday and hopefully get that win on Monday.
Okay, so Victoria, I got to ask, first senior class coming out, are there any traditions that have been established for Eagleton volleyball? Any specific things with the team that can be shared in public about what is expected and what you all do? I mean, from warm-ups to handshakes or anything particular that you all have kind of left as a stamp on this program? It's okay if you haven't. You still got time.
One of our other coaches, Maggie Cooper, before any game, I don't high five her.
Okay.
That was established pretty early. Anytime that we had lost, I had always high fived her, and I'm like, let's just not do that. So it just kind of became a tradition before every game. Nope.
What about for you, Carly? Is there anything that you all want to leave as the legacy, as some little thing with the program?
I think like after every play, we come together, give each other high fives. That's something a lot of teams do, but just keeping everyone up and their energy up, because energy is a big thing. Victoria, she keeps energy up real well. So I'm hoping that next season everyone else can keep the energy up well and we'll thrive. And yeah.
And that's a big thing. That's a big part of volleyball. I mean, it's a part of sports, but with volleyball, momentum is such a huge part of getting runs, continuing runs. It's the main reason teams call timeout in your sport, and which is kind of different. Is there a way to prepare to break somebody else's momentum or pick your momentum back up? Is there like is there a secret to that?
For us, I think like just keeping our momentum up and letting everyone know to cheer through everything, including the parents, like trying to get the parents up, like, come on, parents, everyone cheer.
Right now, and those sophomores are going to be able, as they become juniors and as they become seniors, to be able to look at the example you set and be able to continue it. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm really excited for you guys, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
And guys, before you go, it's a curiosity, but you've said who's the heart of the excitement of the team, but who is the social media queen of this team? Who is the one that is always got Instagram and can tell you where everything is?
Mackenzie Barnes. Or no. That's him. Yeah, Mackenzie Buchanan. Yeah. That's exactly who you can go to.
And Ellie.
Yes, and Ellie.
Ellie Mims.
There's always somebody on a team that is the king or queen of social media and knows everything. So I'm always curious who it is, because it's rare we don't get at least one answer. And Coach, I appreciate you coming in this morning and bringing them with you, because I know everybody wants to start fall break by getting up and coming in on a Saturday morning to hang out with a bunch of old guys in a restaurant that isn't open yet. But with a new program, I'm sure you've got shout-outs for parents or people who are doing things, running gates and doing that sort of thing for your home matches and kind of helping this program along. And want to give you a chance to maybe shout out a couple of them as to who's been helping you.
That's a lot. That's definitely a lot. One, definitely my parents, who have gone above and beyond what I have ever imagined. Carmina is one of them. The Woodruffs are another one. Who else?
Dr. Loud.
Dr. Loud. Shay Wilson. I mean, I can go on and on. Who's helped this team on things that I don't have no control over. Obviously, my administrators and Scott West. Lord, if it wasn't for Scott, I wouldn't. There's a lot of things that I'm still learning about East Tennessee, even though I'm from here. I didn't go to school here, but I'm still learning like all the areas and everything. But just learning from him and seeing how he moves now as an AD and still as a basketball coach is great.
Let me ask you, has he made you do the 100-yard walk with him?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
How did you do?
I did all right.
Girls, how did he do?
I did all
I
right.
haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, man.
Oh,
That's I'm not sure who's.
Yeah.
I don't
Mine
think
was-
he posted that one.
Yeah, he did. It was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
It was when we played.
I think I've created Discord right before region tournament.
Yeah, it was when we played Cosby, I believe it is.
Well,
Huh.
I want to say congratulations to the team, and we wish you the best of luck. Not that I want to set a bar too high, but we have a standing policy that we always try to have state champions come back with their trophies so they can put them here on the table and we can get those out. So if you're looking forward to spending another Saturday morning to smell the pizza cooking before the doors are open, you're welcome to try and win the state championship for that purpose, if you need any more incentive. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
some good motivation.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Hey, listen, Marcus. As Kobe said, the job's not finished. So go out
Yeah.
there and crush
The
it.
job is never finished until
Thank
it's
you.
over.
Well, and we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for coming in. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the page, and we'll be right back and announce the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week. You're listening to the Go-To Sports page. And now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck in the tournament.
I appreciate it.
I know. I like the hoodie.
Thank you.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
The next job I get, this is going to be my.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Yeah, I love it.
Welcome back. We're back here at Bluetick Tavern, and I got to say they're starting to cook back there, and this is always the hardest part of the day for me because we're right at that 1 hour break, and you start smelling some of the meat grilling, and especially when they put the chicken and the bacon on, and I'm already getting hungry, and I'm just kind of waiting for them to come in. And it's the good bad about being at Bluetick and having them host us this many years is you love being here. You love the post-game meal, just like it's a team. You hate sitting through that last hour while they're cooking away and making you hungry. So,
well, listen. Last Saturday after we got done, I tried the calzone here, and it was dynamite. But speaking of letting them cook, we were cooking over here a moment ago. These guys dropping some beats and laying it down, talking about some music. So excited about our next group of guests.
Well, again, this is Marcus Fitzsimmons. I'm filling in for Mike Edwards, and Donnie Moore is also out. So we have the Dunkles here from 2 Hype, And it's time for the Sports Page Player of the Week, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. And we're joined this morning by William Blount head coach Robert Reeves. They're coming off that 62-15 win over Union County last night. And, Coach, thanks for coming in this morning. I'll tell you the same thing I told Eagleton volleyball. I appreciate it because I imagine you had to do some arm twisting to get these guys to come in on a Saturday morning where they should be starting fall break.
Yeah, these guys, they were giving me all kinds of reasons not to come, but I said there may be calzoning in part of it, and they're like, oh, God, we're coming. Well, no, actually, they were good. They both said, yeah, we'll come. Jackson has to go to a wedding. He's always in a wedding because his face, everybody wants to have him. He's one of those guys, they just take his picture. Even though he's not getting married, he's just the guy he's the guy they always put in a frame at the store. That perfect family.
Well, wouldn't it be better just make a cutout and just put him in the background?
Exactly. It's like a green screen. They just put him there. Exactly.
So you kind of given it away, but introduce who you got here with you this morning and who they are, where they play, and what they're using, what you're using them for with the Governors this year. Where they play on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our one of our defensive captains here, Logan Witherspoon, senior. We call him Captain Fundamental, Mr. Fundamental, because ever since he's been a freshman, he just does all the little details right. Fit to be his size and start at backer, linebacker in 6A football is tough, and that's just really a testimony to what he does in the weight room, in the classroom. He's just an amazing human being. And then I always say he's the daughter dating rule. Both these guys I would allow to date my daughter. So that means a lot to me if I say that. And then I have Jackson Dabrowski. He's our junior quarterback, and obviously being quarterback, big leader. Really proud of his growth also this year in the leadership capability, and then really learning to now. I told him the other day, I said, man, you're really starting to understand this quarterback thing. You're starting to get it. And he is. And so I'm just excited to have both these guys here. I'm lucky to have them.
Well, can we put them on the spot? I mean,
absolutely.
You say they perform well under pressure. Do they perform well under radio pressure?
Oh, I think both these guys can take it.
Okay.
give them the business.
Okay. For Jackson, the camera's up here, so you can wave to it and give it your best smile. But you got the position that is always the difficult one when you have a top-flight quarterback graduate. Being the guy after him is always difficult. And you were doing it not just taking that position, but you're also moving from receiver, so you didn't even have some of the targets he did.
Right.
What has that transition been like for you?
I mean, receiver for me was kind of like a side. Like I hadn't really played it ever, and I've been playing quarterback since 8th grade. And I mean, Brett, he helped me out. Like mostly everything I know is from him, and he was a great mentor for me. But it's definitely different for sure. But I do like it a lot better than receiver. Just I like helping the guys out, and it's pretty fun.
And we've seen, and I may be wrong, but just watching what's happened over the since the Heritage game. And I know you don't want to talk about that one, but since that point, it feels like the offense has started to click and mesh in some different ways where the ground game is doing some different things and you're able to do some different things playing off of that, and it looks like it's getting a little bit bigger each week. Right. Is that true? Or is that just misperception?
100%. I mean, we're just getting more and more experience every game. Our offensive line has really stepped it up since the Heritage game, and I mean, like what Coach Reeves said at the beginning of the season, if we had those few weeks, we could have put it together. Oh man, but I think it's just. I mean, we're getting more chemistry. I mean, we're seeing those plays that we can make. We make those plays in practice, and the more and more we do that, we're making them in games, and we're getting our one-on-ones we like, and I think guys are really stepping up for us.
And at the same time, Logan, the defensive side of the ball, almost from, I won't say from the same point, I would say a week earlier, it feels like the defense is reading and reacting more and not having to do as much reading and looking. Like you all are able to play without thinking about as much. Is that kind of true? Is it?
Yeah, kind of. We so from the beginning of the season, we have been just, hey, let's line up, do our job. We got the guys. We got some experience. We got a lot of seniors on the defense, which is nice. Unfortunately, we've had a couple injuries, but we are. It's not. It's actually it is next man up mentality, kind of. Just hey, we're gonna give you the reps. We're gonna give you all the stuff you need to go succeed, and just go make a play. And we have been just trying to keep getting better at that. And yeah, we've kind of gotten more to where like we're getting smarter and getting better at just like, hey, okay, we got this. All right, let's just boom, 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 go down the line on our rules and all that stuff to just go play defense.
And has the attitude on this team changed since you got to the point that you had 2 region wins? Did that put a different spin on the rest of this season?
Well, from the start of the season, we've always been like, we are giving everything we got for the playoffs. Like that was our standard is up here. It's always been up here. So we're just trying to keep getting better and keep working at that. But yeah, we're shooting for those playoffs with the 2 wins.
Coach, I didn't ask him much about last night because I don't think they got to play all that long last night. So let me ask you, when you have that game, it looked like you were able to take advantage of it in a good way, that you were able to use a lot of young guys. And, you want to do that, but we've also seen games like that where, it stayed at 28 points and you never got to that point where you felt like you could really go down the roster all the way. But the starters took care of that, got you that big lead, and you were able to get guys in. How did you feel like those young guys? Did you see things that you thought were encouraging?
Yeah, I mean, these guys will tell you I'm pretty truthful, so I'll just tell you. And they know I tell them all the time. I was like, I will chap you if you need it. And so there was we put the young guys in, and we just kind of just didn't do very well. So I wasn't very happy. And so I kind of challenged some folks, and we made a couple switches here and there. And then all of a sudden, it's like boom, they knew what was up. And it's like, and Logan said it best, like the standard doesn't change. Whether you're a 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string guy, you have to be able to perform because that's what your teammates expect, that you're accountable. And so after we kind of had a little talk, we locked back in, and then we looked great. And we're fortunate. We have a couple really talented young freshmen on our team that are going to be really good in the future. So I'm really excited about that. And they got a lot of time to play yesterday. And I think really truthfully, I don't think after the second quarter most of our starters played. I think we had most of our young guys in, which was good for us to get experience. And also it's not in my nature to try to embarrass somebody. I've been on the other end of that. I think it's tacky. So we just tried to play young guys and do the best we could with a running clock. And I just said, hey, y'all just go out, have fun. But, we weren't looking to try to score a lot of points, obviously. That just happened. So
it's okay, though.
Yeah, it is.
If you were if we were talking about earlier during the scoreboard, but if you were playing bingo, B62 was the number to have this week because you all got 62, Maryville got 62, Eagleton got 62. It was the number of the week.
I tell you, that's crazy.
I've remembered matching scores before, but I've never. I can't recall where we've had 3 that got the same score the same week.
I don't remember that ever.
And I'm going to get you about the look ahead because from this point on, you all control your fate as to what you're going to do. 2 of the last 3 games were region games. You've got the trip to Dobbins-Bennett and the finale with Jefferson County. What can these guys do, and what do you kind of I won't say expect from them, but where do you see them being able to go?
I mean, my goal and these guys' goal is we want to host a playoff game. To do that, we got to win 2. We got to beat Dobbins-Bennett and Jeff County. And to really make sure you do it, you need to beat Saudi Daisy too, because you can get tiebreakers. So we want to win out. That's our goal. Beginning of the year, the goal was to win the first game, win the Heritage game, go to the playoffs, host a playoff game, play for a state championship. I told them, if you don't believe that, then don't play. So that's what we do. And we have ebbs and flows of the season. We've had some games where we've played great. We've had one or two games where I felt like we didn't play as well as we should have. Last week, I think, not this week, but the week before last was not a good week. But we prepared well and we played well last night. So, for going forward against Dobbins Bennett, really good team, well coached, a lot of great players. Definitely a game, if we come out and play like we're capable of doing, we can win. It'll be a tough environment, but, I'm looking forward to it because 3 years ago we went up there and we absolutely got absolutely destroyed. And so this year our mentality is, no, that's not going to happen. We're going to go up and we're going to play and we're going to get after it. These guys, when we're locked in and we're focused, we don't maybe have all the athletes of some of the teams we play, but I always tell these guys it doesn't always matter about the athletes. It's really more about the way you feel about each other and how hard you're willing to play for each other. Because if you lay it on the line, the best players don't always win. And that's why we go out and we fight and we play hard. These guys have the capability to do that versus all three of the teams we play. It's not going to be easy because, both those teams have multiple Division I football players on their teams. So, for us to win, we got to play together. We got to play with passion. We got to want to hit somebody. I always tell people, don't play it if you don't want to hit somebody. Go play a different sport, badminton. If you don't like hitting people, this ain't the sport for you. And then be accountable. Look your teammate, pat him and say, hey, man, you got more than that. These guys do a great job of being positive with their teammates. We're looking forward to it.
And I'm gonna give you the lead into this, Coach. We were talking about the way Eagleton ended up playing North Green out of the mess that has come out of the disaster areas up in Upper East Tennessee right now. You all took part with some of the Blount County Schools program this week. Can you kind of give us an idea what the team was involved with as far as relief efforts went?
Yeah, these guys, on Monday or Tuesday, I told them I have a cousin that lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and I have an aunt that lives in Nashville, North Carolina, and one of them had my cousin's daughter had to. This is a true story now. Had to walk through. They packed up 2 backpacks, and they're both outdoor people, so they backpacked. They put their 2 children in these backpacks, and they literally walked 3.2 miles over the top of a mountain because they had no way off their mountain. The road was destroyed, washed away. They had no food except for what's in the house, no water, no electricity, and they walked 3.2 miles over a mountain to their mom's house. And, of course, they have water where she lives and electricity. And so I knew then it was pretty serious, So I told these guys, I said, hey, that's just North Carolina. We got Cocke County. We've got Upper East Tennessee. And so I said, hey, let's do something to help. And I heard that morning that somebody said that they needed 10,000 cases of water. So I said, well, let's see what we can do. So I challenged them. I said, hey, let's bring in 100 cases, and we got at least that much, maybe more, and toilet paper and toiletries, and we're going to give it to a local church who's going to make a trip up there next week and deposit those items to those families. So yeah, it's awful. I think about, we're so blessed to be able to play and not have to go through what some of those families are going through. I saw a picture this morning of a child holding on to her dog who was soaking. I'm getting emotional. Sorry. Wow. Little girl in a canoe crying, have a dog. She's just holding on to that dog, and in the background, her house is flooded, and she's in a canoe. And I'm like, how would that feel to be a child? And your everything you ever known in your world is gone. And for a lot of those families, it's going to take years, guys. It's not months. It's years. It's wiped out bridges and roads, and gone. And so, I just hope our government steps up. I don't get political, but hope our government steps up in this country and takes care of our citizens, because those are people that are a backbone of America and they need help. And it'd be a shame if we don't give the people the kind of help they need. And so we're going to help how we can. And I hope some of our elected officials and people in the community who have the ability, like Miss Parton, Dolly, gave $1 million last night of her own money. Of her own money. And people like that, that's powerful, that's Christian, that's being a good person. and I think that's what we all need to do. So any more water, let's bring it in. We'll take it.
And it'll take a while. And I mean, we looked at it from a sports level yesterday, where you have teams that it took them days to even find out if all their players were available, where they were. They had no communication, no way to talk to each other. They're not having school, or their school's being used as a relief center. And they don't have a field, or the field's been damaged, or they don't have water in the showers, so they can't practice. And I mean, it takes a lot of normalcy out of life. So I'm glad to see teams from this area supporting what's going on in relief efforts. I do want to pick on these guys a little bit.
Get them.
All right. Because it's fall break, right?
It is. We're starting.
So I expect Coach has said there are some things that he expects you to maintain during fall break, as far as going to bed and getting rest and staying hydrated and eating right. Jackson, what's your cheat going to be this week? What do you need? What are you going to do that it may not be something the coach doesn't approve of, but something that you've got on your bucket list of this is fall break and this is what I need to do.
What I need to do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to the beach, so I'm definitely gonna stay up a little later, wake up a little later, but I need some donuts. I need some burgers.
Oh boy, here
and
we go.
I need some sugar in me because it's been a minute. Because I've been holding off. So
He was gonna make weight.
Oh, well, I need to make. I've been losing weight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Logan, what about you? Is there anything on that bucket list of things that you're looking forward to doing this week?
Man, definitely trying to stay on the getting to bed on a reasonable time, because like I could stay up and play video games forever, or just stay up and just be doing stuff. So definitely getting to bed, but also got to get outside too. I can't just lay around the house all day. That's my poison. I just can lay around the house. So I guess I'll go out and touch some grass or go to the field or work out, find a way. So.
And then the truly tough question, from the definition of your school's athletic director, I see 3 William Blunt shirts here today. If you're watching this on the live stream, you can go ahead. If you're just listening on the radio, you need to go check the live stream for this. There are 3 different William Blunt shirts on display. They are all a different blue. Which one is the William Blunt blue?
That's why they call it which blue.
This one.
It's got to be
yeah,
the Navy.
yeah.
It's Navy.
Well, the 3
It's the
sports
Navy.
have the different, like the baseball's got the baby blue, the football's got the darker, and the basketball's kind of got that lighter. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
Okay, so which blue university is true thing for
That's
athletic
what
director
Scott
Cup?
Cup calls them which blue because they don't know.
Yeah.
They're still trying to figure it out.
Which Blue High School?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we won't get on the serious side of this. We get the delving question, because football teams always have this. Who's got the best nickname on this team that can be said on the air?
that can be said on the air.
I've asked that question the wrong way before, and I didn't like the answer.
I got you. Who we got? We got AK-47.
Yeah.
We got
Mr. Fundamental.
Yeah.
That's that. I mean,
They call me
that's
Spoon though.
it's Spoon.
Spoon. That is too. But I call you Captain Fundamental. But Spoon. Who else we have?
AK.
I mean, I don't remember the last time my actual name was called.
Debo.
Not
Everybody's
Debo,
got
yeah.
like, and here's over like the season, everybody gets their own nickname too, like Bucky's.
Yeah.
Bucky's.
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 Bucky's. Who
Thomas Lyford.
Okay, that was my question. Who is Bucky's?
Thomas Lyford. We
He
love
showed
him.
up. To
McCracken.
McCracken.
And that's his last name's Connor McCracken, but every time we say it, it's McCracken. All the kids call him McCracken. And McCracken got his first
Yes, he
touchdown last night, and the team went wild.
Fade ball dime.
Oh, and he caught it. It was beautiful. It's like he looked like Odell Beckham, just boom, like I've done it a million times.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Well, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in and spending the time with us. Like I said, I know getting up on Saturday is a little bit of a challenge, especially after that road trip back from Maynardville last night, but we appreciate it. We wish y'all the best of luck. You know, the way the schedule breaks down, if you're playing in the playoffs, we can always have you back.
We'd like to be back.
You know, so if you need some incentive out there, we'll put that out there for you.
Marcus, one last question. He's
got
to,
one
to anybody who wants to answer it. But one of the things I thought was cool, and still got a couple games to go, but a great opportunity for you all, whether it's at home or away, to make the playoffs this season. And if you make it, the first time since 2019 that the Govs have been in the playoffs, how big of a deal to you guys would it be to be able to be the next class that got in?
It's big because last year was our first winning season since 07, I believe. And that senior's standard was, well, I mean, their standard too was to make the playoffs, obviously, but, some things just, we could have done some things differently and got a better outlook. But they did end up getting what they wanted to try to get, which was, hey, we're going to, put our foot down and say we're going to winning season, and then off season we were like, playoffs. This is it. And so we're really trying to push for that. And it'd mean a lot to the school, especially because I know a lot of everybody is like, yeah, dude, I can't remember hardly the last time we even been to the playoffs. So, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Well, good luck to that, guys.
Thank you.
Wish you the best. Yeah.
And so, Logan, on behalf of the team, we'll let you accept this for them. Player of the week for the work you guys did on the rehab, on helping with the relief efforts. And go hold that up. I mean, don't let Jackson hog the camera here.
Nope.
Just for you all helping out. I mean, I know you're not the only team and the only athletes that have helped this week, but I thought it was a good spotlight to let people know that we appreciate the efforts that are being made out there. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Coach, we wish you all the best of luck after the fall break, and I guess we'll go ahead and turn the page real quick here and let you all go. And with that, we're going to quickly turn the page. We'll be back shortly with a special guest from Alcoa football coming to join us today. And this is the sports page, the best in Blount County sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensonTire.net.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goatee Sports Page. The best in local sports since 1978.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com.
And welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in Maryville. Don't know if that final spot confused people. Sometimes the commercial list gets a little short, and Donnie's not here to correct me, so I'll take the hit on that one. My bad. This is Marcus Fitzsimmons. I'm filling in for Mike Edwards and Donnie Moore this morning. We've got the guys from Two Hype joining us to kind of fill out the show and bring a little bit different takes on some things this morning. Donnie's on his annual trip down to the coast this morning, and Mike's recovering from a little bit of medical work. And this is usually where Donnie would be doing headlines, but instead we've got special guests here this morning. But our sponsor hasn't changed. So this the segment for Boyd Spotlight brought to you by Fast Signs.
I was wondering if you were going to do that this week after I saw Donnie doing the sound effect
he's going to have to help me out because it takes a group effort. You just got to have to help me.
Okay.
When I say Fast Signs, you got to follow it with the sound of the wind, like you're moving fast.
Okay, I'm ready.
So let me try again. Brought to you by Fast Signs.
There
you go.
Okay.
That was great. That was fantastic. But the Boyd Spotlight this morning, we're putting the special guest spotlight on Alcoa offensive coordinator Brian Gossett. Coming here after last night's thriller between the two defending state champions. We mentioned the score earlier, but it's worth repeating. The Tornadoes were a 28-10 winner over Knox West last night. Did not give up an offensive touchdown. Scored in all four quarters. And just a really dominating game. Coach, I had predictions on this game in my head of how it could go. The outcome I got was not on my list of things I had as the possibilities. How were you, I won't say surprised, but were you pleased by the effort the offense was able to put out there last night?
Yeah, so our offensive coordinator, David Sweetland, came up with a really good plan, found some things in the way West adjusted some coverages in certain formations, and so then he just allowed, built the plan so that Graff could kind of, make things work based off the formation and the coverage. So, Coach Sweetland did a good job of getting us together and getting us going, play calling and things. And, like you said, we scored in every quarter. Outside of the, we had that possession where we had a penalty or two, and we had to punt. And then, the pick six for them. Outside of those two plays, we were really happy with the offensive output and the way it kind of transpired. I think we're all waiting for some of those big plays that everybody's used to seeing at Alcoa. It's been a lot of chunk play, like 8 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards. Nothing 45, 50, 70 big plays like that. But we're executing at a high level, and so.
You had one of those last night. It just got called back.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
I thought it was a beautiful pass and beautiful play, and I really liked what you all were doing. It's kind of been like a development because we saw Jameer being a focus of the past game, one game. We've seen Eli being a focus, and we've seen like a different wrinkle developing each week because if you were watching film, it's never the same guy. But what you were doing last night with rolling Graff out and dinking over the West defense was really, really effective.
Yeah, like I said, we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job of getting the matchup exposed that we feel like is the best one for us to get as many yards as possible. And the biggest thing is if you've got 12, if you've got Graff, you're in pretty good shape most nights, if not every night. So. You just got to let him work, and then all those different kids at receiver. Micah Jones played his best game at running back last night. When you're playing the kids that we're playing, I think it's 6 sophomores on defense or 7, and probably 4 or 5 on offense. There's gonna be a little bit of natural growth that takes place every week, and I'll give those kids credit. They've really responded and grown and worked and I still think the best is yet to come. I don't feel like we've performed in any phase of the game as well as I think we can. I still think there's some areas where there's some growth to be done and had, and but it's not because the kids aren't working hard. It's just it's just
growing up.
It's growing up, and it's it's been kind of a weird year so far. We had a week off because we couldn't find somebody to play, and then we lost a game because of weather, and now we're on fall break again, so we're not playing this week. It's just been it's been tough on the kids because it's just like there's not as many rewards for them. You work them like dogs basically to get them ready, and then we're gonna play a game this week, but we're gonna wait 2 weeks and then play another one. So they I think all of us would like to just get a little more normalcy that way, but it is what it is.
Well, I'm going to ask you to introduce the fellow you brought with you here. Not often we'd ask the offensive coordinator to introduce somebody whose name got called on the defensive side so many times last night. Donnie Moore about wore the microphone out saying his name. But you all have a different relationship in a different sport, so I figure that'll work.
Yeah.
You can brag about him all you want.
Yeah. So being the O-line coach, this guy gives me problems every day trying to block him in practice, and then it makes me happy when he gives the other team problems. So then I feel like he's not picking on just me, right? But this is Darius Sutterth, and if you don't know the name, you will. This guy is just pouring himself into being the best linebacker he can be, and like you mentioned, he's a state medalist in wrestling. He's in the choir at school. He makes all A's and B's. So there's not a better kid on our team in terms of just if you wanted to take this guy to represent you somewhere, he'd be right up there at the top of the list of people you would take. And then now, when he's on the field and on the mat, he's not so nice and not so.
I was getting ready to ask because I was trying to translate linebacker and choir in my mind, and it wasn't jiving real well.
He does things the right way. He competes the right way. He does school the right way. He lives the right way. And so, like a lot of guys on our team, when they're doing things the right way in all phases of their life, and they get the kind of results that Darius is getting right now. Boy, just as a coach, it just makes you really happy, that the things you tell them about, doing things the right way and all that kind of stuff, really does matter, and it really does work and translate. And so, like I said, we're probably here to talk about his football exploits today, but just remember the name because there's going to be lots of football exploits, there's going to be lots of wrestling exploits, and then this guy, I hope he'll give me a job one day when he runs his own company and all that kind of stuff, because he'll whatever he decides he wants to do, he's going to do it, and it's going to be good.
Thank you.
Heath, you want to jump in here because I know you've been burning to ask these guys some questions.
I'm always chopping at the bit to talk some Alcoa football. But, yeah, I mean, first off, number one, Darius, shout out to you. There's not a lot of choir football kids, so I understand. I was in singers at Heritage High School and played football, and I honestly think music gives you a little bit of an edge because there's some intellect that goes into music and learning the music and learning about the different styles and all of those things. So major props to you for that.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and the thing
does it help with the cadence so you don't get offsides? Is that?
I mean, I think there's so much to music in general. I think music doesn't get enough credit. You talk about band, talk about choir, and the different languages we had to learn when you're learning different songs for competition. And I think it just really makes you an all-around more well-versed person. And so that's super awesome. I didn't know that about you. I think that's super cool. But secondly, Darius, for me, and you can ask Scott this too, every week up in the booth when we've been talking player of the game, you've been in the conversation. And we have said the last week or two, all right, the next time his name comes up, we're just going to give it to him because every week he's in the conversation. So at some point, he's got to win it. We've had 2 sophomores already who've won it this season. Jameer Dean got one. Micah Jones got it this week. Really was proud of him and what we've seen, his growth at the running back position. But for you at linebacker as a sophomore, to be able to start and also not only be able to start as a sophomore, but be able to start beside the Michigan man himself, Eli Owens, and kind of learn from someone like that too. Can you walk me through a little bit about what that experience has been like for you?
It's crazy. The growth that I've experienced because of him and because of my coaches like Nick's and even my dad.
Yeah.
It's all just been surreal.
Yeah. What do you feel like really has helped you personally, like kind of motivate you and drive you to be as where you're at right now? Because I think you're really playing at a high level, and I agree with Coach. Like you haven't even reached the ceiling. You're not close. I think there's a lot of players in this sophomore class that have got a lot of room to grow, and they're already really good. But what do you think has really helped you to like just kind of drive and motivate you personally?
My motivation is to just be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love high school football and I love all this, but I want to do more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really learn too to play at the collegiate level and to play at the NFL level. Physicality obviously is important, but what do you hear him talk about too? Football intellect and guys who get it, guys who know where to be at what spot, guys who remember plays and have that kind of photographic memory or watch film and go, hey, when they move this guy in motion, here's what's going to happen. And knowing exactly where to be and kind of filling that hole. I mean, you talk about last night's game in West early on, and I think we kind of knew going into the game, but you saw some success with that 2 running back system going back and forth, had some success finding some holes in the defense. But as the game progressed, it felt like you guys started to kind of close some gaps, figure some things out, and force them to have to throw the football, which really wasn't their strength. We've always said that Coach Nix is one that makes the best halftime adjustments that we know of. Yeah. But on defense, what were you guys figuring out as the game moved forward that you could stop Ren and you could stop Ray from getting the big chunk yardage?
Like you said, we owe all that to the coaches, to Nick, all the defensive, everyone that has anything to do with defense. We knew what to look for. Mm-hmm. After a certain point. We saw them run it. We knew what they were going to go back to, so we tried to stop it.
Yeah, and 2 electric backs, right? I was telling Scott last night, I said, normally when you have a 2 running back system, you have thunder and you have lightning. I said, in this case, they were both lightning because they were both quick. You have one guy that's usually like the power guy and one guy that can kind of get to the outside for you. But both of those guys, if they cut out, you just saw those legs start taking off. And I thought you really did a great job as the game progressed, too, when they started to do that, forcing them more towards the sideline instead of allowing them to find those holes to cut up. So I thought it was really impressive what you guys were able to do. I'm really proud of you, and, man, I can't wait to get you up in the booth at some point in the season. You're going to be up there. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Coach, I'll flip it over to you as well, though, and so far this season, like you said, it's been kind of a weird year. Basically 3 bye weeks now early in the season for Alcoa. Not something we see a lot of, but now you move into a kind of a tough slate of 4 games pretty quickly where you play Scott, you play Maryville, you play Union, you then turn around and finish off against Kingston. Can you talk a little bit about how you prepare? I mean, obviously the bye week will help rejuvenate again, getting ready for that stretch and then playoff time, but how you really get this team ready for that gauntlet.
So, Coach Nick said it yesterday in the post-game huddle. There's goals that you set at the beginning of the year, and these next 4 games all sort of play into those team goals that you have. It's hard to win a state championship if you don't win the region. So, there's 3 region games, and if you play at Alcoa, you want to win that. You want to win the Maryville game. Those are just those are things. Those are goals that you have, and so nobody, this probably sounds, I don't know how it sounds, but nobody gives a crap if we're pushed or challenged with 4 games in those days.
Yeah.
People are probably actually happy that it's harder on us, and that's okay. I just know that it's hard to win a state title if you don't win a region title. Mm-hmm. You want to try to get as many playoff games at home. So those 3 region games, Scott, Union, Kingston, are so important. And then the Maryville thing kind of goes without saying. And so it's just one of those things where if you're a competitor and you want to get after it and do the best you can, then mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to do hard things, and 4 games in that many days is hard things, and that's just part of it.
Well, and in the West game in particular for you guys, I told Scott going into the game, it was kind of a revenge game in my opinion. Like, even though you beat West last year, they beat you at home 2 years ago. So it was kind of like, hey, we want to protect home field. We want to show that this is our house and we're going to take care of business. And so they came in, and the road team had won the last several years of games, just kind of the way it stacked up. You know, Major Newman and Bacon and them came up big couple years ago at West. Then they got us. Then we turned around and got them right back. And so was it something that was talked about a lot, or not at all when it came into coming into this week of, hey, we want to take care of business against West this year?
I think on Monday there were some pictures up in the locker room, wasn't it? Darius,
Yep.
tell them what the picture was.
Oh, it was a picture of the last play of the game, them in victory formation on our field, and it was plastered over the locker room.
Hey, if that ain't motivation, I don't know what is.
You know, and Coach Nick said it every day, multiple times. You know, that doesn't happen to us much. That somebody's on our field in victory formation doesn't happen much.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that was a lot. There was a lot of motivation, and you know, really, it says a little bit about how we're growing as a team, because you know, this group of sophomores, they weren't even on the team then. They were in 8th grade.
Yeah.
You know, so just having a little bit of pride about, you know, the name on the front of your jersey, and having a little bit of pride about the people that come and watch and the community that supports and things like that. And just making sure, you know, that you don't leave a game feeling that way, you know. And I think that's a pretty powerful motivator for kids. It's not the only motivator, but it's a pretty powerful thing to sort of get their attention and help them get focused in on the task at hand.
Darius, I want to ask you about the third quarter last night. It ended up being just 2 drives. You all had one. They had one to start the game. They went down the field pretty methodically, about 6 or 7 plays, and then they got the red zone. And it felt like, I mean, it's on the Jumbotron before the game, but it felt like Coach Nix was over that defensive shoulder saying they will break before we will. Yep. And you all stopped them on that 4th and inches.
Right.
What was the mentality on once they got into the red zone? What changed?
Well, nothing really changed. It was just that we knew what had to be done, so we were able to we just read the play out, got physical with it, and that's how we were able to do that.
I mean, Coach, you all jumped on it because you went not right down the field, but you marched down the field and turned it from a 1-score game to a 2-score game.
Yeah, and you know, there's a certain thing about the games. You know, you always want to. In a perfect world, you want to score at the end of the first half and have the ball coming out and score then, so that you can make it a 2-score game pretty quick. You know, I felt pretty confident that if we could get a stop there at that juncture, that we'd be able to put something together and go down and score. And then all of a sudden now, you know, there's a big difference in 14-10 and 21-10, and so you know, we do some things in practice where we talk about that scenario, and so I was super proud of our defensive guys. You know, our red zone defense was really good last night. You know, they did. I give West a lot of credit. They did a great job from about 30 to 30 or 30 to 20, and then red zone defense was just really, really stellar. And you know, blocking that field goal early. You know, huge momentum shift, got us off the field. They were chunking us a little bit, and then we went down and scored on that drive, I believe, the next drive. So it's, you know, it's just there's just some things that you talk about with, you know, getting momentum and then taking the momentum back when sometimes it feels like it's sort of gone away from you.
Well, Coach, wanted to ask you, and Heath and I have kind of noticed this through the year a little bit. Like you said, a little bit different team this year than what we're used to, but took a lot of time off the clock in the first drive and in quite a few of the drives. Is that something by design or is just how it happens?
You know, I think it just kind of happens. And you know, I was talking to one of our other coaches on the way here, and you know, you think about Bearden, and you think about Greenville, and you think about West. Both those games, or all 3 of those games, are super close at halftime. And then you look at those second halves there, at least from the offensive standpoint. I think against Bearden we had an 11-play drive in the second half and a 14-play drive. Against Greenville, I think we had 2 10-play drives in the second half. And then last night, like you're talking about, you know, all of a sudden we put 2, 10, and 11 played good drives together. So I don't think it's by design, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, how we've had a little more difficulty big playing folks this year just for whatever reason. And so I think we've had to learn and grow into this, okay, well, you know, if we can get 4 here and then get 6 the next, and then, you know, just I think we've sort of grown into it. I don't think it's intentional, but I think that's what we've had to do to be productive on offense. And like I said, just you know, giving ourselves a chance to win those big games by controlling the clock. And, you know, some of it has to do with the fact that, you know, we got a really mature, older quarterback who's played a lot of football. And so, you know, he's pretty calming in the huddle with those guys, you know, and then, you know, you got a great little outlet with Owens, you know, that he helps you in some big downs where it's 3rd and short or, you know, things. And then just, you know, like our offensive coordinator, Coach Sweetland's done a good job of mixing up some second short plays to help us. And I tell you another thing that helps us that a lot of people don't realize is, you know, when we line up to punt the ball, it's an offensive play.
Yeah.
And so, you know, everybody's playing us 2 downs now, and that makes it that makes a difference. You know, we haven't faked a lot of punts this year, but at the same time, we haven't been in a whole lot of punting situations. But I think part of that, but I think part of that is the threat of the fake punt too.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen you all punt the ball, but it looks like every time that Graff gets it, he's deciding whether he's going to run or actually punt it.
I think he's making a read every time.
It doesn't. I don't know if that's intentional, but I know the other coaches are looking at it like, I really don't know if he was going to kick it there or not.
I think last year in the season, I think we faked 11 or 12 punts last year and converted all of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, we haven't – I don't think we faked one yet this year. If we have, maybe one. But all of a sudden, you know, you're 11 for 11 on some play. You probably want to keep doing it. You know what I mean? And again, it's you know, sometimes I wonder why we ever punted a different way than we are now, just because, you know. And then Darius can tell you, God, we work it all the time.
We do.
You know, it's not something where it's like, oh, well, we're going to do punt team here for 2 minutes. I mean, it's an everyday thing, and all the stuff that goes with the punt team, we work it every single day. You know, that was something that Coach Rankin, you know, he felt like that was always the most important special team was punt team.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that's really carried over from him is just, you know, you've got to practice punt every day because that's the thing. That's the thing that can get you beat faster than anything else. You know, you snap it over somebody's head, you don't field it right, you don't cover it right. So I just, you know, like I said, I'm really proud of our kids too because they have so much confidence in it now. They trust it and understand that, you know, it's just part of our offense, and that's made a big difference. I think it makes it a little easier too for us play calling wise, especially Coach Sweetland. You know, if it's 3rd and 3, most of the time that's a 2-down deal. You know, so, and I think that really helps him, you know, with making some decisions about what plays to call.
Well, and I would just say too, you know, even to you, Darius, that when it comes to special teams, those plays in practice can get a little monotonous at times, but I would tell you that they're so important. I remember 2 years ago, East Nashville came into the championship game saying, hey, we're great at special teams, and we put a real big focus on it. And Alcoa won the special teams battle. And it's because of those details throughout the season and throughout practice that really make all of that difference. But, Coach, I've got 2 more if I'm allowed. I know we don't have a ton of time, so I'll try to be quick.
Yeah, we got 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. But my first question for you is, you know, a lot of times we play a tougher schedule of non-conference games that really help us later in the season. If there's one game in particular that I think could really be useful to go back and look at in preparation for Maryville in a couple weeks, Ravenwood. You've got a 6A team that is probably going to be one of the premier teams this year, at least so far in 6A football. They came in with a loaded upper-class team. I thought they looked really good in week 1. And I thought they were just well-rounded, but also where I feel like in the Alcoa Maryville game in particular, you always see some of the difference is the depth. The depth tends to play a factor as the game progresses, and Alcoa does such a great job of staying in and their guys being able to play both sides of the ball and really put a lot out in the field. But it's still hard. There's no question that's still hard when you've got a team in 6A that's got a lot of depth. So how do you feel like Ravenwood maybe did or didn't. I mean, I think it did, but what's your opinion on that going into a game like Maryville?
You know, I think Maryville's its own. Thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is that, you know, Coach Rankin used to say it all the time. You know, he never used the word Maryville. You know, we would practice and he'd never say it. You know, and so everybody knew it already. It didn't need to be said. We play a tough schedule because we want to be the best we can be at the end, and so I don't think when we're playing Ravenwood, or Greenville or West or Bearden or whoever, I don't think any of it is like, okay, well, this is going to help us get ready for Maryville. I think it's more like, hey, we got to be the best we can be.
Yeah.
And so the best way to find that out is to play the best teams we can play as often as we can within reason. And so I think the Ravenwood thing for us showed us that that we can play with some good teams, but that it also shows you that you don't have a whole lot of room for mistakes. You know, you don't field 2 kickoffs inside the 5, so you get pinned deep twice. Well, you know, it's hard to go 95 yards against a good defense. You know, you turn the ball over, bad stuff happens. You know, you give somebody a short field. You know, that it's hard to defend people when they're starting on their side of the 50. So I think the Ravenwood thing for us is more. It's less about sort of helping us for Maryville, but more for just like, look, this is the recipe for winning starts with not turning the ball over. The recipe for winning starts with, you know, playing field position and getting, you know, being good in the kicking game. And I know that sounds kind of like coach speak, but at the same time, when you're playing as many young kids as we're playing, you know, sometimes the best way to learn those things is to fail. And in the Ravenwood second half, we failed in those areas. And then in the fourth quarter, we put a drive together to start the fourth quarter and got that thing within a score. I think it was maybe 17-9 or something like that. Got it within a score, then stopped them the next series, you know. And then I think we pressed a little bit and turned it over. But point is, I think that drive in the second half of there proved to us, okay, stuff's not going good, but we can still get back and get going. And then, you know, same thing with Bearden, and then same thing. And so, you know, there's going to come a time in that Maryville game where we might be down a score or two, and there may come a time where we may be up a score and need to go finish one off to try to win that thing. So, but those are things that we need to be ready for in the championship game, in the semifinals, in the quarterfinals, and those games where we can really accomplish, you know, one of our main goals, which is, you know, winning the state title.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final question I had for you, because I know we're crunched on time, but I could talk all day about this stuff with these guys, is another player that I think is kind of underrated, that I think really showed out on Friday night. Jacoby Cooper, I thought, made a lot of really great plays. I mean, we talk about Jameer, we talk about Eli Owens on offense, Micah, Condis, but I thought Jacoby really stepped up and had a really great night.
So I'll say what Coach Nick said about him last night in the post-game huddle. When you do things the right way and you stay the course and you block out negativity and you block out, you know, hard times, and you just use those to sort of help you build, then good things will happen to you on the other end. I don't know that we factored him in as much of a factor as he is now early on in the season. And he basically said, all right, coaches, I'm a factor and you need to play me. And, man, you talk about a bunch of teammates being excited for a kid because they know the struggle that he's been through, the kids he's played behind, the work he's put in. I mean, when you lift right and when you do things the right way and when you take care of things, eventually good stuff's going to happen. Now, you know, kind of in the lead with Darius, it's the same kind of deal. You know, Jacob Crow is another example of a kid on our team who, you know, he benched 95 pounds when he was a freshman in high school, and now he's out there competing against some really good kids. So, I mean, Jacoby, I think, is a great example of what we really want out of all of our players, which is, you know, block out the negativity, you know, be present kind of where you are, and when your opportunity comes, step up and take it and make it to where, hey, we got to factor Jacoby Cooper in. And I couldn't, you know, as a coaching staff, there's a bunch of great kids on our team, and we love them all, but to see him have the success he's had so far is really rewarding for us because we've gotten to see him sort of grow and fight through, fight through not getting to play and fight through, some stuff. And so I'm super proud of him. And he was a big factor for us last night. He was a matchup that Coach Sweetland found, through formations. And so he intentionally called some plays to get Jacoby out there because we felt like Jacoby was in a matchup that really worked best. And Jacoby's earned the confidence to deliver. That first pass interference, I mean, kid grabbed our jersey because he was so beat, right? And just like I said, Jacoby's just a great example of what happens when you stay the course and work and do all the things and really just block out sort of the negativity that sort of goes along with some stuff like that.
Yeah, another great player that so many weapons are continuing to show themselves as the year progresses. But, I appreciate that and excited for Jacoby the rest of the season.
Great leader.
And, guys, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap today's edition of the Sports Page. Thanks to 2 Hype for joining us this morning. Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our hosts, the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For the vacationing Donnie Moore and the recovering Mike Edwards, until next Saturday, this is Marcus Fitzsimmons wishing everyone good sports.